I remember a time when it felt like there would always be someone a few steps ahead of me. People I could call when I didn't know what to do. Mentors who had already made the mistakes, already walked the road, already figured out how to steady things when life got complicated. I didn't think much about it then. I just assumed they would always be there. Over the years, though, something quiet began to change. One retired, another moved away, a few simply grew older and slower, and some eventually were gone. I started noticing that the people I used to go to for answers weren't as easy to reach anymore. Their voices were still in my memory, but their chairs at the table were empty. At first, that felt unsettling, like showing up to a place where the lights had dimmed a little. But then something else began to happen. Younger people started asking me questions, the same kinds of questions I used to ask. They asked what I thought, or how I handled things, or what they should do next. The first few times it surprised me. I still felt like the one looking for guidance. And that's when it slowly dawned on me. This is how life moves forward. The people who guided us don't disappear completely. They live on in the way we think, the way we listen, the patience we try to show. Their voices become part of our own. And one day we realize that without quite meaning to, we've stepped into the place they once stood, trying our best to pass along the same steady presence that once carried us. This video is dedicated to two of those men in my life. Meet Dan. Dan was a mentor of mine that I met 10 years ago when I first moved to this side of the state. I met Dan at church, and he was the guy who immediately, when I first showed up in church, he was the guy who came up, introduced himself to me. I had just moved here from eastern Idaho. I did not have a job yet. I had gotten engaged to my wife. I had moved over here to get my chiropractic office started, but in the meantime needed a job. Dan was the guy who walked up to me at church and offered me a job. He offered me, temporary part-time work while I was looking for a job to be able to make some money, just to be able to, to get by. That's the kind of man that Dan was. He was a family man. He was a husband. He was a father. He left behind some beautiful children, 2 young boys, and some older girls as well. Dan passed away just a few weeks ago, but he was one of those men that from the moment I met him, I felt close to him, like I was his best friend. And I know that everybody else who knew him felt the same way about him. He treated everybody as though they were family, as though they were best friends. I didn't get to fish with him very many times. When I first met him, he and a couple other men that I went to church with were all Kokanee fishermen. He was one of 3 men who got me into Kokanee fishing to begin with. This clip and the next clip are a few years ago, back in 2020, before he moved. We were fishing on his boat. I got on his boat several times, but back then I didn't record all my trips, so I don't have a lot of footage with Dan. I only have a few, but this is one of those trips. We were fishing on Anderson Ranch on his boat, and we had a great time. We were up there for a couple of days. We caught a lot of fish and really had a great time. Shortly after this, Dan moved from the area. I actually hadn't seen much of him for the last 5 years, but when he passed away, it was like a family member had passed away, because that's how he treated everybody. He will be greatly missed. I wish we'd had more fishing trips together, but that's sometimes how life goes. Now I'd like you to meet Rick. I met Rick at the same time that I met Dan. When I moved to this side of the state, I went to church with him as well. He's one of those 4 men that I mentioned that Kokanee fished when I first moved to this side of the state. And Rick was getting started with it at the same time I was. He and I were kind of on a learning curve together. This right here, this particular trip, this was obviously not kokanee fishing. This was with another friend of ours, Tom, who's the man on the right side there. We were fishing the Columbia River out of buoy 10. This was back in 2022. Rick regularly went with Tom on these trips, and this was the first year that I was invited on this trip, and I had a great time. This certainly wasn't the first time I had met Rick, but this is when I really got to know him a lot better. We spent 3 days together on this trip, getting to know each other, fishing on the same boat together, and we had just a great time. This particular fish, this was the biggest fish of the trip. Rick put it in the boat. You'll see here in a moment that the water was not cooperating with us. The video doesn't do it justice. This part of the river on this day with all the boat traffic and the winds out there was extremely rough. And this fish was hooked during the roughest part of it, but we do get him landed.
He's not small. On the spoonfish? On the spoonfish. Is he running? You can keep on the spit. Keep running, reeling. He's not feeling real. Pull up.
Here we go, rocking back and forth. You can see a little bit how rough this water was on this day.
Keep pressure on. Keep reeling even on the way up if there's no tension on it. If he's not pulling. That's the fifth game.
We are just rocking all over the place here. But it was a great time.
What I was saying is if it gets close, you want to reel all the way down your waist and keep your rod and bring it up. So you want to be careful. Take the rod that away. Let it run. It's a reel down. Reel down. Reel down. Pull up. Reel down. Pull up. Turn the boat the other way. Gas it. Oh, that's a big, beautiful. Gas it. Turn what? Turn it that way. That way. Gas it. There we go. There we go. Lift. He's in.
So I also got Rick with me on my boat. This was the next year. This was 2023, fishing on Anderson Ranch. I've got Rick there and another friend of mine. Rick is obviously on the net on this particular video. But he was such a good guy to have on these trips. I told him actually several times over the years that I've known him that he reminded me of my dad. His mannerisms, the way how calm he was and how happy he was all the time just reminds me so much of my dad. And I love getting out with him because I felt like I was treating my own dad to these fishing trips. So anyway, enjoy the videos. I'll touch back in with you later.
You're good. Keep him out there. Lift. Pull him in a little bit first. Pull him in a little. Okay. him up next to the boat. Keep him out to the side. Okay, lift. Whoa. There we go.
Fish.
Now we are back to buoy 10 on the Columbia River again. This was August of 2025. We're again with Tom, which, by the way, he's the fourth one of those guys that were kokanee fishing with me when I first got started. Tom, as well as Rick and Dan, are largely responsible for me getting into kokanee the way that I have. And it's something I'll always be grateful to all three of them for. But this is Tom's boat. This is, again, buoy 10 over at the mouth of the Columbia River. And Rick is there with us. This is a trip that I will treasure for the rest of my life. This was, like I said, August of 2025. Rick passed away about 2 months later. So I was so glad that I got to spend this time with him. This is Rick with a coho on. He's on the bow of the boat. He fished up there quite a bit on this trip, which was a little tricky getting these fish landed because you can't really have two people up on the bow at once. But Rick does a good job here to get this fish in the boat. This was one of many on this trip. This was a great trip. We were there for 4 days, and we put about 35 salmon between kings and cohos in the boat on this trip. So I'll let you guys enjoy some of these videos, and I'll be back with you a little bit later.
No, you didn't. He's still on. Keep reeling, Rick. You got it. This might be a huge coho. I see a green back on him. Oh, shoot. You're still on?
No, but it's swimming out.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
Let Dad worry about that, Rick. You just get your rod tip towards you.
Swing this way, Rick.
Here it comes.
Lift. If that line will bring it
Yeah,
to the
reel
line.
more, Rick. Reel.
Okay, lift up. Is it under the boat?
No, be straight down.
Okay, lift. One more time, Rick. This way. It's right in the corner of his mouth.
Turn the boat, Dad. Other way.
We got it. Lift up. On the lift there.
Let him go. There we go. Got him.
Is that deeper?
Yeah.
Here.
So like I said, this was a great trip. We had multiple days with lots of fish brought into the boat. Rick was a great sport. He also caught the smallest fish of the trip, the smallest salmon of the trip, and he was proud of it. I'm going to miss both of these men. I love them both. I enjoyed my time with them, and I'm just sad that I will not have that time with them in the future, but it was good to have it while I did. Thank you for watching.